In Russia, firefighters work to extinguish a blaze at a shopping center.
Rescuers evacuate 6 people before the fire escalated. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Ricky Mathay.
I am Nina Richie-Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. The House leadership relieves Congresswoman Gloria Arroyo of her title as Deputy Speaker. Philippine market prices remain high despite the easing of inflation. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls Gaza a graveyard for children. Donald Trump lashes out at the New York Attorney General claiming election interference. And Filipino-American pop star Olivia Rodrigo's voice shines through Hunger Games' newest installment. Pampanga 2nd District Congresswoman and former President Gloria Arroyo has been removed as Deputy Speaker in the House of Representatives. Along with Arroyo, Davao City 3rd District Representative Isidro Ungab was also relieved of his position as Deputy Speaker. This is after the two Solons did not or no co-sign on House Resolution number 1414. The change in the leadership was approved during the plenary session this Tuesday night. Deputy Speaker Antipolo City 1st District Representative Roberto Puno presided over the session. Deputy Majority Leader Cagayan 1st District Representative Ramon Nolasco Jr. made the motion to remove Arroyo and Ungab. Replacing Arroyo is Isabela 1st District Representative Tony Pet Albano, while Ungab will be replaced by Lanao del Sur 2nd District Representative Yaser Alonto Balindong. Meanwhile, the camp of Congresswoman Gloria Arroyo and Congressman Isidro Ungab released their statement regarding the removal of their titles.
Speaker Martin Romualdez has vowed to stand up to those who harm the House of Representatives. Vin Pasco reports.
Speaker Martin Romualdez opened the second regular session of the 19th Congress, citing he would fight against those who malign the House of Representatives.
Tatayo ako laban sa sinuman na mananakot sa atin para masunod lamang ang gusto nila. Itindig ako tayong lahat para sa kapakanan ng bayan. Let us focus on the task at hand. When our goals are aligned, we could be an excellent force propelling our country into unbridled progress. Let us ensure that our actions will promote development in all spheres of both the government and society.
During the session's opening, the House passed the House Resolution 1414, or upholding the integrity and honor of the House of Representatives. The resolution shows the support and unity of the House under Speaker Romualdez's leadership. In the said resolution, the importance of maintaining the dignity, integrity, and reputation of the House of Representatives is emphasized. The resolution was supported by lawmakers and political parties in the chamber, although Pampanga Congresswoman and former President Gloria Arroyo and Davao City Representative Alberto Ungab have not given their signatures. Independent Minority Leader and Albay Representative Edsel Lagman questioned the convening of the Committee of the Whole in the chamber plenary. Lagman wants to name who is strengthening the integrity of the chamber.
Yes, we have to defend this institution. But what I am asking for, what were the overt acts which were uttered, which could be considered subverting or challenging the integrity of this House? Because the resolution is rather vague. It does not give us the proper background.
Senior Deputy Speaker Aurelio Gonzalez referred to former President Rodrigo Duterte threatening to destroy the integrity of the chamber, but before doing this, Gonzalez announced the resignation of some PDP members against whom former President Duterte stood as chairman.
The one who uttered that word is our chairman from PDP Laban. Before I will answer, I will resign now as member and officer of PDP Laban. The former President Rodrigo Arroyo Duterte.
Vin Pascua reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The constitutionality of transferring 125 million pesos in confidential funds to the office of the Vice President is set to be challenged in the Supreme Court. Natalie Pichi tells us more.
Okay, yung paglagay ng budget item is really a legislative act na Kongreso lang ang pwedeng gumawa nun. No? Dahil hindi nilagay ng Kongreso, pero binigyan ng budget na wala namang item. Ayan. That purely legislative act cannot be delegated to the executive department. Ang pwede lang gawin ng executive department sundan ang instructions ng batas.
Petitioners are arguing that this transfer lacks a legal basis and are requesting the Supreme Court to declare it as a violation of the Constitution. The petitioners assert that such a transfer constitutes an encroachment on legislative power, as only the two houses of Congress have the exclusive authority to allocate and approve the budget. They also highlight that there was no budget enacted by the House of Representatives and the Senate for the office of the Vice President's confidential funds in 2022. In light of these concerns, the petitioners are further demanding the return of 125 million pesos to the National Treasury as its utilization is claimed to have no legal basis. Natalie Pichi reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Meanwhile, a report from the Philippine Statistics Authority reveals that the country's inflation rate decreased to 4.9% in October, despite recent price increases in power, agricultural products, and jeepney fares. This figure represents a decline compared to the 6.1% inflation rate reported in September. The October inflation rate falls below the forecasted range of 5.1 to 5.9% by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. National statistician Dennis Mapa attributes this drop to a slower year-on-year increase in food and non-alcoholic beverages, as well as restaurant and accommodation services. Food inflation, in particular, decreased to 7.1% in October, down from September's 10%, with the decline being driven by factors such as vegetables and rice. MAPA also noted that the recent hike in jeepney fares was offset by slower price movements in other transportation segments such as fuel, taxi, and bus fares.
National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, Under Secretary Rose Maria de Leon, said the market price remains high even as the country's inflation dipped to 4.9% in October. The NEDA official explained that the price of major commodities in the market slowed down due to the October inflation. NEDA, however, does not ignore the fact of the possible uptick in prices in the holiday season, particularly to products like ham that can be bought for 169 pesos to 900 pesos depending on its size and brand.
Prices are still rising, but not as much as it increased in September. Now actually, dahil sa patuloy tayong lumalaki, incomes are also rising, demand is increasing, nagkakaroon talaga ng pagtaas sa presyo. So kung makikita niyo yung sa DBCC, di ba, yung mga tina-target namin na inflation rate between 2 and 4, lagi talagang merong may magkakaroon ng inflation kasi nga lumalaki yung demand.
De Leon, however, clarifies that the government will continue to assist the most vulnerable sectors.
In other news, Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri is set to lead a marathon deliberation of the proposed 5.768 trillion peso 2024 national budget this Wednesday. This is to ensure the passage of the budget before the Congress adjourns for a holiday break in December. Senators are scheduled to attend morning and afternoon sessions to finalize a Senate version of the bill. The measure is set to be put to a vote on November 27. This will be followed by a bicameral conference meeting to harmonize any disagreement between the version of both houses. Last Saturday, the House of Representatives turned over to the Senate its version of the proposed national budget. House Speaker Martin Romualdez said the House remained firm in its commitment to timely and transparently budget cite the measure to be free from the shadows of pork barrel. The Senate President received an official copy of the national budget and vowed to pass the 2024 General Appropriations Act before the end of the year.
The Department of Agriculture, or DA, has launched a series of projects funded by the World Bank with a primary focus on enhancing local agricultural infrastructure. These projects encompass the Philippine Rural Development Project, or PRDP Scale-Up, the Mindanao Inclusive Agriculture Development Project, and the Philippine Fisheries and Coastal Resiliency Project, or FishCorps. The objective of these initiatives is to assist farmers and fishers in increasing their production and to promote greater participation of women in agriculture. The PRDP Scale-Up will be executed across all 82 provinces in the Philippines, while FishCorps aims to reinforce fishery sources or resources management in 24 provinces and 11 regions throughout the country.
The Philippine National Police has announced that it is collaborating with other law enforcement agencies to investigate the alleged presence of Chinese sleeper cells in the country. Sleeper cells are clandestine groups kept on standby for conducting infiltration and intervention activities in foreign countries. The National Capital Region Police Office has indicated that they have yet to confirm the existence of these sleeper cells, which are believed to be primarily operated by Chinese and Taiwanese nationals. On the 3rd of November, the Chinese embassy denied the existence of these alleged sleeper cells. They stated that they are working with Philippine law enforcement authorities to jointly investigate the case in an effort to combat transnational criminal activities. Coming up, the United Nations calls Gaza a children's graveyard as death toll reaches 10,000. Donald Trump lashes out at the New York Attorney General claiming election interference. And U.S. Secretary of State Blinken arrives in Japan for G7 foreign ministers meet. Stay tuned for more stories from around the globe when we return.
Masasabi mong tunay na kaibigan.
Yep! At kapag siya'y natagpuan na, huwag mo nang pakawalan.
Ang tunay na kaibigan, laging nandyan kahit kailan.
Handang gawin ang lahat, maging happy ka lang.
Gagawin ang Afro-Funk! Para sa'yo, para sa pamilya, at para sa bayan.
Tulad na lang ng inyong mga bagong kaibigan.
Tuwing umaga,
love,
Tunipe,
and everything!
Lunes hanggang Biyernes,
6:30 ng umaga
sa Net 25! Let's get there! Love Tunipe and everything! Love Tunipe and
Magandang
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres urges an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict as the death toll in the Gaza Strip tops 10,000. Guterres warns that the bombarded Gaza Strip is becoming a graveyard for children. Rose Papaangelos reports.
UN Chief Antonio Guterres says the unfolding catastrophe in Gaza makes the need for a humanitarian ceasefire more urgent with every passing hour.
Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children. Hundreds of girls and boys are reportedly being killed or injured every day. More journalists have reportedly been killed over a 4-week period than in any conflict in at least 3 decades. More United Nations aid workers have been killed than in any comparable period in the history of our organization. I salute all those who continue their life-saving work despite the overwhelming challenges and risks.
Guterres says the nightmare in Gaza is more than a humanitarian crisis. He says it is a crisis of humanity. The UN chief expresses concern about transgression of humanitarian law happening in the Israel-Hamas war and warns that no side should ever be above the law.
Nothing can justify the deliberate torture, killing, injuring, and kidnapping of civilians. The protection of civilians must be paramount. I'm deeply concerned about clear violations of international humanitarian law that we are witnessing. Let me be clear, no party to an armed conflict is above international humanitarian law.
Guterres also deplores the killings of media workers. New York-based Committee to Protect Journalists says that at least 36 journalists and media workers have been killed. Militants from Palestinian group Hamas stormed into Israel on October 7, killing some 1,400 people. According to the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza, over 10,200 people have died, including more than 4,000 children in the Gaza Strip, since Israel launched its strikes in retaliation. Rose Papaangelos from Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Palestinian workers recently deported to Gaza have come forward with harrowing accounts of mistreatment, accusing Israeli authorities of subjecting them to torture. When the Hamas attack on Israel began, initial reports in the Israeli media raised concerns that the militants might have infiltrated groups of workers holding valid permits. However, a different narrative emerged when an Israeli official clarified that the men had been detained not on suspicion of terror-related activities, but for being in Israel illegally after their work permits were revoked. Many of the workers were left disoriented, not knowing where they were taken. Their accounts include allegations of being forcibly stripped, confined in cages, and subjected to brutal beatings. During their detention, they endured humiliation and were subjected to mockery, all while enduring physical beatings. Tragically, some did not survive this ordeal, losing their lives either during detention or while attempting to return to Gaza. Even more disturbingly, there have been reports of Israeli police mistreating children. Former United States President Donald Trump has lashed out at a judge, Arthur Engoron, during his civil fraud trial in New York. Trump, in his testimony, complained of unfair treatment, claiming that Judge Engoron was biased against him while defending his family business. Trump also lashed out at New York Attorney General Letitia James, alleging his trial was election interference. He also disputed claims that he deceived banks and insurers. But at one point, Judge Engoron warned Trump, saying he might remove him from the witness stand if he did not answer questions directly. Judge Engoron also asked defense lawyer Christopher Keyes to control the former president. The judge then called for decorum, asserting the witness's stand was not a political rally, but part of the courtroom. Later on, Trump acknowledged that he was involved in some of the documents which are the subject of the fraud case. New York State lawyers said Trump's company pumped up the value of apartment towers, golf courses, and other assets to win better financing terms. But Trump argued that those estimates were not always accurate. He said some of his properties, like his Mar-a-Lago estate and Doral golf course in Florida were undervalued. He claimed his Trump Tower residence in New York and his Seven Springs estate north of the city were overvalued. The judge has already found Trump, his adult sons, and 10 of his companies liable for fraud. Judge Ngoran is also weighing whether to impose fines and other penalties that could fetter Trump's real estate empire. Trump is facing 4 criminal cases, but legal experts say Trump's civil fraud is not a barrier to his White House bid.
Dozens of truckers blocked 3 major Polish border crossings with Ukraine Monday. The protest is over what Poland says is unfair competition from the neighboring country's businesses. Thomas Likeness reports.
While Ukraine continues fighting a military war with Russia, it now finds itself in an economic battle with neighbor and ally Poland. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Ukraine received special temporary access to EU roads. Polish trucking companies say that is undercutting their business. Polish truckers say Ukrainian carriers have driven down prices and are hauling cargo that they used to carry. One trucker says unless the current situation changes, they won't last until the new year, and Ukraine will take over Poland's transport market. This is what it looked like at 3 key border crossings on Monday. After drivers set up a blockade, they allowed only 1 truck per hour to cross into Ukraine. But passenger vehicles and trucks with humanitarian and military aid were allowed to pass through. Ukraine says it's ready to begin talks to resolve the dispute. Thomas I. Likeness from Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A tragic incident has taken the life of Major Gennady Chastyakov, a close advisor to the commander-in-chief of Ukraine's army. Initially believed to be a suspected assassination involving a booby-trapped gift, further details have emerged regarding the incident. Ukraine's Interior Minister Igor Klimenko released a statement indicating that Chastyakov was showing his son a box containing grenades that he had received as a birthday gift. This revelation suggests that the explosion was not an assassination attempt, but rather a tragic accident. Unfortunately, Chastyakov's 13-year-old son was also seriously injured in the incident. The police have identified a fellow soldier who gifted the grenades and have seized 2 similar devices.
Indian Foreign Minister Subramanyam Jaishankar asserts that the world did not agree to sanctions imposed by the West on Russia. Jaishankar describes the West sanctions as levers against Russia that advanced economies use at their disposal. India is reportedly one of the emerging countries that claim the West has double standards over the Russia and Ukraine conflict and the war between Israel and Hamas. Jaishankar believes that double standard sentiment boils down to the so-called Eurocentric attitude towards global affairs. He claims European nations only worry and want solidarity if there is a problem that threatens their lives. Jaishankar's comments come days after he defended India's purchase of oil from Russia despite pressure from the West.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Japan for the group of 7 foreign ministers meet. Sources said meeting is expected to be dominated by the Israel-Hamas war. A Hamas-run health ministry said the death toll in Gaza has exceeded 10,000 people, including more than 4,000 children. United Nations agencies in several countries have been calling for a ceasefire. U.S. has not backed these calls, insisting that Israel has the right to respond. The ministers from G7 were also set to discuss the conflict in Ukraine as well as relations with China.
Myanmar's military is currently facing its most significant military challenge in seizing power as an opposition alliance disrupts vital trade routes and captures towns and numerous outposts near the Chinese border. This offensive in northern Shan State is led by the Brotherhood Alliance, a coalition of ethnic armed groups in coordination with newer anti-coup groups. The alliance asserts that it seized over 100 military outposts, but this claim is yet to be verified. Nevertheless, the military reports the loss of several towns, including the strategically important town of Chinshuihao, located on the border with China's Yunnan province. This town played a crucial role in facilitating more than a quarter of Myanmar's $1.8 billion worth of border trade with China between April and September of this year.
Jihadists have killed at least 11 farmers in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state. Authorities say several others are missing after an attack on rice fields on the weekend. Arlene Ocampo reports.
On Monday, residents held a funeral under armed guard for the victims. Suspected Boko Haram jihadists stormed the fields late Sunday, seizing farmers and slitting their throats. The farmers had been staying in their fields overnight, guarding their crops against theft before transporting it home the following morning. An anti-jihadist militia leader says 4 farmers survived the attack and are recovering in hospital from slashes to their throats. He says they are still searching for more bodies because several people have been reported missing. Boko Haram and rival IS-linked Islamic State West Africa province have increasingly targeted farmers, loggers, herders, and fishermen. They accuse them of spying and passing information to the military and militia fighting the insurgents. Arlene Ocampo from Atanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
And in business, Elon Musk has announced he'll integrate his artificial intelligence startup XAI into his social media platform X. Musk says XAI will also be available as a standalone app. XAI also works with Musk's electric car maker Tesla and other companies. XAI released its first AI model named Grok to all X Premium Plus subscribers. Musk says Grok is witty and has real-time access to information via the X platform. Musk launched XAI in July, calling it a maximum truth-seeking AI, rivaling Google's Bard and Microsoft's Bing AI.
Up next, the Iglesia ni Cristo in Partnership extends its help to the residents of Rochinha in Brazil through Care for Humanity. Bangladeshi garment workers return to their jobs. And Italy to seize multi-billion dollars from AirBnB in tax evasion inquiry. Please don't go away. We've got more stories from around the globe when Mata ng Agila International returns.
It's full throttle ahead when innovation meets conservation with hybrid electric vehicles or HEVs. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, as we take a ride into the electrifying future with Miss Maria Antoinette Lee, Director for Sales and Marketing of Luxuriant Automotive Group Inc., the official distributor of GWM Philippines. HEVs and GWM are now open for business to cover more miles.
Having a car becomes a symbol of success, it becomes self-actualization. There's an emotional attachment. It's like providing for people you love. It's a building of a dream.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Nagbabalik ang Lutong Daza dito sa Net25. Ako si Sandy Daza.
At ako naman si Patwi Daza, and we are the Cooking Cousins. Asahan nyo ang mas nakakatakam na mga recipes, mas malakas na halakhakan.
At tawag ko rito put-put eh.
Put-put. At syempre mga celebrity guests na game na game.
Espresso mo yun. Oh, galing.
Kita-kits sa kusina. Lutong Daza, Saturdays, 11 a.m. sa Net25.
The Iglesia ni Cristo, in partnership with the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, extended help to the residents of Rocinha in Brazil through Care for Humanity. Michelle Peredo tells us more.
Fico feliz com o que vocês estão fazendo aqui, caramba. E isso também, pela ajuda que vocês estão me dando. É um exemplo enorme que vocês estão fazendo pelos brasileiros e pelo mundo, tá?
One of the most visited cities in the Southern Hemisphere, known for its beautiful and natural scenes in between busy city streets. Yet if you look closely enough, a stark contrast in living areas.
Woven throughout this grand city, several comunidades or favelas built entirely by residents over the decades. And in Rocinha, a city within a city, houses towering one after the other on hillsides, and of over 200,000 residents struggling with poverty and homelessness, lives Ricardo, who for a time was homeless himself during one of the darkest moments in his life. So after that, what happened to him?
Então, depois que você foi expulso da casa.
Depois que eu dormi 2 noites na rua, lá em Copacabana, junto com um monte de pessoas de...
For being homeless, what are the hardest struggles that he was experiencing?
Como morador de rua, quais são as dificuldades que você passou extremas assim?
Comida, frio, você não ter com quem conversar, você não tem como tomar um banho, é isso. Higiene, muito difícil.
But in the midst of struggles being faced by residents like Ricardo, he was one day met with hope, being introduced to the Church of Christ, and was invited to a Care for Humanity event, being held here today. And it has been a hope to hold on to for Ricardo, along with many others.
Vai me ajudar muito, porque no momento não tenho nada. Eu tenho 2 filhos, não é muito boa não, porque no momento eu estou desempregada, não estou trabalhando. Vai me ajudar muito.
Aqui está tudo muito difícil, está tudo muito caro. E é isso, é a dificuldade do mundo, está tudo muito caro. Estamos precisando muito.
As comunidades elas têm sofrido muito com a necessidade, com a fome. E principalmente depois da pandemia, piorou a situação. Então, um benefício desse, nesse momento, é gratificante. É muito importante, é muito bom.
Rocinha é uma comunidade maior. Pessoas pobres estão aqui, então eles estão muito gratos ao nosso Senhor Deus, primeiramente, e também na administração da igreja.
Olha, eu tenho muito que agradecer, foi uma bênção divina. Muito obrigada mesmo.
Obrigado mesmo.
Pela ajuda, pelo que vocês estão fazendo, não só por mim, mas por toda a comunidade da Rocinha, do qual conseguimos receber essa...
Estou muito feliz com essa ajuda humanitária que estão fazendo aqui para a Rocinha. Vocês não têm noção da imensidão, da gratidão que é o povo da Rocinha estar pela Igreja de Cristo.
Convidar outras pessoas também para poder assistir junto com a gente. E muito obrigada ao irmão Eduardo Manal.
And this continues to be the result of the ongoing humanitarian efforts of the Church of Christ, caring for one's fellow man as the priority, and the realization seen by residents like Ricardo that all hope is not lost here in Brazil.
From Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Michelle Peredo, Worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan, special coverage.
An AI system being created by Culture Pulse for the United Nations aims to build an AI model to untangle the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. F. Leron Schultz and Justin Lane, American founders of Culture Pulse, are working for the United Nations to create an advanced experimental AI model intended to mine potential solutions to the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Schultz told the outlet Wired that their mission, which was initiated in August, is to create an AI model not to resolve the war, but to understand, analyze, and get insights that would help in implementing policies and communication strategies. The use of AI in conflict situations dates back to almost 30 years ago when machine learning was first used to anticipate potential conflict zones. Lane told Wired that for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, they will approach the experiment in feasible manners using a digital twin of a conflict which will generate a virtual representation of each of the 15 million individuals residing in Israel and the Palestinian territories. These virtual citizens or entire artificial societies will model the socio-ecological aspects of the Israeli-Palestinian region with these virtual simulations of individuals equipped with characteristics such as demographics, religious beliefs, and ethical values.
Following a week-long strike, a number of garment workers in Bangladesh have returned to their jobs. But those who remained on strike clashed with police as factories reopened on the weekend. Kimi Oria reports.
The walkout had resulted in the closure of some 600 Bangladeshi factories. Workers have been demanding a nearly 300% increase in their minimum wage. Violence broke out in the industrial town of Ashulia Saturday as about 10,000 workers tried to prevent their colleagues from returning to their jobs. They hurled stones and bricks at police and tried to block roads. Police used tear gas and fired rubber bullets to disperse the crowd. Factory owners have offered the workers a 25% pay increase, far short of what they are demanding. The workers say a sharp increase in the cost of living has left them struggling to provide for their families. The country's 3,500 garment factories account for 85% of the Southern Asian country's exports. They supply some of the top names in fashion, including Levi's, Zara, and H&M. Kimi Oria from Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
An Italian court has ordered the seizure of $835.5 million from rental giant Airbnb. The forfeiture stems from an alleged tax evasion case of Airbnb. Prosecutors say Airbnb neglected to collect a tax from landlords on around $3.9 billion of rental income. Taxation law requires that landlords in Italy should pay a 21% tax on their earnings. Meanwhile, Airbnb spokesperson Christopher Nutley says they are surprised and quite disappointed. Nutley believes their company has acted in full compliance with the law and intends to exercise their rights concerning the issue. This incident is not an isolated case. Legal experts say it is part of a broader examination of tax practices undertaken by Italian and European authorities against multinational corporations. Earlier this year, Milan prosecutors launched an inquiry into NEDA over alleged non-payment of value-added taxes.
In Russia, firefighters battled a fire that erupted at the nail shopping center in Ulan-Ude. Russia's Ministry of Emergency Situations said it deployed 72 firefighters and 22 special fire appliances to extinguish the blaze. Authorities reported the blaze left significant damage after turning 12,000 square meters out of 22,000 into ashes. Local officials said 6 individuals were safely evacuated before the fire escalated. No casualties have yet been reported. Investigations are underway to trace the cause of the fire.
On Monday, scuba dive boat captain Jerry Boylan was convicted of criminal negligence in the deaths of 34 people killed in a fire aboard the vessel in 2019. The 69-year-old Boylan was found guilty of 1 count of misconduct or neglect of ship officer following a 10-day trial in federal court in downtown Los Angeles. He is the only person to face criminal charges where he could get 10 years behind bars. The charge is a pre-Civil War statute known as seaman's manslaughter that was designed to hold steamboat captains and crew responsible for maritime disasters. The verdict comes more than 4 years after the September 2, 2019 tragedy, which prompted changes to maritime regulations and several ongoing civil lawsuits. 33 passengers and a crew member were trapped and perished in a bunkroom below deck. Boylan was the first to abandon ship and jump overboard, where 4 crew members who also joined him survived. Although the exact cause of the blaze remains undetermined, authorities sought to assign blame throughout the trial.
NASA has green-lighted Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin to launch Mars magnetosphere study. The space agency targets to launch the Escape and Plasma Acceleration and Dynamics Explorers, or ESCAPADE, mission in 2024. ESCAPADE will use 2 identical small spacecraft. NASA says it will take the twin satellites about 11 months to arrive in Mars after leaving Earth's orbit. Studying different magnetospheres, according to NASA, will give scientists a better understanding of space weather, which can protect astronauts and satellites as they orbit Earth and explore the solar system.
Coming right up, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak makes a pre-election pitch in King Charles's speech. Poland's Iga reclaims her #1 ranking in women's tennis. And Hollywood stars pen an open letter to U.S. President Joe Biden. Catch the latest in sports and entertainment. Mata ng Agila International. We'll be right back.
May job interview na naman si Kuya. Ang 23rd na niya.
Salamat sa oras mo. Maaari ka nang umalis.
May mga taong sadyang pinagdaramutan ng pagkakataon, gaano man katalino at porsigido. Samantalang may iba namang ipinanganak na hindi alam ang katagang kahirapan. Dalawang magkaibang buhay na parehong nangangarap. House of Bluebird, malapit na. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Mikroponong ito'y naglalahad ng saloobin, oras na para ipasa sa bagong makatanabing. Galing ay ipamalas, pangarap ilabas, itodo ang lakas, rap sa Pilipinas.
King Charles will formally open the UK Parliament with a rundown of his government's legislative plans before the election. From London, England, Arabelle Celestino has the details.
King Charles will set out the UK government's plans on crime, climate, housing, and other legislations on Tuesday. This will be the first time that King Charles will make the speech as the head monarch of the United Kingdom. But British reports say the royal's plans could be Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's first and last so-called King's speech before an election next year. Many experts believe Sunak will use the King's speech to put spotlight on the vote-winning policies he outlined earlier this year. Other political analysts expect Sunak to highlight his climate measures that will push Britain's net zero goals by 2050. He will also introduce the sentencing bill to crack down on crimes in the United Kingdom. The expanded criminal bills means convicted murderers who carry out sexually motivated attacks will automatically remain in jail for the rest of their lives, with no prospects of release. Sunak will also drive a policy to hold North Sea oil and gas licensing rounds annually. Analysts say the speech of King Charles is crucial as it will add pressure to an informal election campaign, one of which the Conservatives hope will close a 20-point gap with the Labour Party. Reporting from London, United Kingdom, this is Arabel Celestino for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
In other news, critics have labeled Prince Harry and Meghan Markle as eco-hypocrites after they flew on a private jet to a Katy Perry concert. Royal experts say Harry and Meghan's choice of transportation was problematic since the couple are advocates for solutions to climate change. Critics also point out Prince Harry's trivialist charity promotes sustainable and eco-friendly tourism, and yet he and Meghan used private planes. Some royal biographers compared Prince Harry to Prince William, praising the latter's decision to fly via a commercial plane. Up to this moment, Harry and Meghan did not release any comment.
Crowds in Singapore cheered as Prince William arrived for the Earthshot Prize Awards this week. But before the much-awaited ceremony, the prince took some time to deliver a speech at the United for Wildlife Summit. Here's Love and Season for the report.
Prince William says 7 countries have committed at the United for Wildlife Summit to deepen their intelligence sharing and other cooperation. He believes the world's first international statement of principles will clamp down on financial activities that sustain illegal wildlife trade.
I'm delighted to announce today the United for Wildlife has led the creation of a world-first international statement of principles agreed by governments to prevent, detect and deter the financial activity that sustains the illegal wildlife trade. Signatories, including Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the UK, the US, South Africa and Singapore, will commit to regular cooperation to combat money laundering from transnational criminal syndicates engaged in the illegal wildlife trade.
Britain's prince also expressed alarm over the wildlife population around the world, saying it has plunged by almost 70% over the past 50 years. He says flora and fauna is the 4th most traded illegal commodity in the world, worth up to $20 billion. He points out that traffickers in more than 150 countries are developing more sophisticated networks to smuggle wildlife products. Prince William also vowed to pursue criminal gangs and traders that poach animals.
I'm incredibly proud that our network has supported over 600 investigations, nearly 300 seizures of illegal wildlife products, and the training of over 110,000 people to tackle wildlife crime. But our work is far from over. We must be more determined, more innovative, and more resourceful in the relentless pursuit of our mission to defeat this trade.
Reporting from London, United Kingdom, Love and Season for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Poland's Iga Swiatek has sealed her return to world number 1 with a season-ending WTA Finals win held in Cancun, Mexico. This after she dominated American Jessica Pegula from start to finish to clinch a 6-1 and 6-0 victory in a 59-minute masterclass. Swiatek took control of the contest early on with a crushing forehand match point to seal her victory. She went 5-0 at the tour's season-closing championship, winning all 10 sets she played and seeding a total of just 20 games. The 17th win of Swiatek's career ensures that the 4-time major singles champion will finish the season as world number 1 for a second straight year. The victory also makes Swiatek to return to number 1, a spot she held from April 2022 until this September when Arina Sabalenka overtook her after the US Open. Hollywood stars, including Jennifer Lopez, Selena Gomez, and Bella Hadid, have written an open letter to U.S. President Joe Biden requesting him to call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, a group of Hollywood A-listers penned an open letter addressed to U.S. President Joe Biden. Celebrities like Jennifer Lopez, Selena Gomez, Gigi Hadid, Bradley Cooper, Channing Tatum, Drake, Dua Lipa, Joaquin Phoenix, among others, implored Biden to act swiftly and call for an immediate de-escalation and ceasefire in Gaza and Israel. The group, in their letter, emphasized the urgency of the matter to prevent further loss of life and highlighted the staggering number of casualties in the past week and a half, which is around 5,000 lives. The stars also asserted their belief that all life, regardless of faith or ethnicity, is sacred. The names of artists who have united in this humanitarian cause are posted on the official website, artistsforceasefire.org.
Meanwhile, Filipino-American singer Olivia Rodrigo released her song for the official soundtrack of the Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. In her social media, Rodrigo revealed that she wrote "Can't Catch Me Now" for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, as the film will be available in theaters soon. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes marks the 5th installment in the Hunger Games film series. The movie is based on a novel by Suzanne Collins that takes place several decades before Katniss Everdeen was born. The film stars Tom Blythe, Rachel Zegler, Peter Dinklage, Hunter Schafer, Josh Rivera, Jason Schwartzman, and Viola Davis.
It's Tuesday, and to send you off tonight, here's a quote from veteran journalist Conrado de Quiros. Truly, the Filipino rises to his finest self during trying times. The more trying the times, the finer the rising. It is in times of disaster that the Filipino ceases to be a disaster, thinking of others first before self.
And we couldn't agree more, because, you know, the Filipinos all over the world are known to be the most resilient people.
That is so true, and we keep getting up. We don't ever back down. We don't ever give up. That's what's amazing about us Filipinos.
That's correct, Means. And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Ricky Matay.
I am Nina Richie Lago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point. Thank you for your trusted news source, keeping you connected to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.